What's up, guys and girls? It's Ghost Robo. Yesterday, Microsoft revealed Xbox Scorpio via Digital Foundry, or at least they revealed the insides. We don't know what the box looks like. We don't know the actual name. We didn't see any new games, but we do know a whole lot about the power behind the Project Scorpio, and we know a lot about Microsoft's mindset. So today I kind of want to dive into what my take on it all is, not from just a straight up news standpoint, but on where this puts Microsoft and what they need to do to make this thing a success. Because it's great to have 6 teraflops, it's great to have, you know, all that extra memory, it's great to be able to show Forza at 4K 60 and still have, you know, 20-30% overhead. That's all fine and dandy, but if there aren't the games or the showpieces to make that noticeable and make that worth people's while, dropping 500 plus on a new system is not going to be in the cards for most individuals this fall. Now, I think if you are a new person to this generation, then yeah, you're going to get a Pro or a Scorpio because you might as well future-proof. Or if you're a very big videophile. But here's what I was thinking about. I already have a graphics card that can do this and more, and I still don't play games on PC. Why? Well, one, I'm not really a big PC player, but two, that extra oomph doesn't matter all that much to me when I still can have a pretty darn great looking experience on Xbox One or PS4. So what do you do to really sell this? Well, the best thing you could have done would be have some exclusive games. That's not going to happen. There are no Scorpio exclusives. Everything is compatible, and Microsoft made very clear that they are committed to delivering not only a phenomenal experience for 4K TV owners, but also 1080p TV owners. They want this to be the best looking console no matter what display you have. And they made some smart choices in terms of super sampling everything, in terms of optimizing all of the games from Xbox 360 and Xbox One, and really opening up all those performance modes to any sort of display. So it's not like the PS4 Pro where it's limited based on what you're using. If you have a 1080p TV, a 4K TV, you're gonna have the options. All that's really great. What the heck do you do with it though? PS4 Pro does make something like Horizon Zero Dawn look really great. So exclusive-wise, that's where we're counting on sort of the bread and butter for Scorpio. But the exclusive slate from Microsoft, while fun, I don't think really is a Scorpio showpiece. So if we talk about the 4 main exclusives we know that they have this year, Sea of Thieves, a game that looks like it could be a lot of multiplayer fun. It's not a game that's gonna be pushing people, you know, via its visuals. It's more cartoony. It's not something that is so lifelike or has these amazing lens flares or things of that nature. State of Decay 2, love State of Decay. Just revealed today that State of Decay 2 will have 3 maps, each the size of the whole first game. That's great news. Should be a really fun game. Not even really 100% sure what the structure of that is, if it's going to be full price, 40, where they're going to lay that. I'm guessing it's going to be full price based on how heavily they have been touting it. But again, unless they've dramatically changed the graphics, that is another very stylized game that isn't trying to be hyper realistic or have hyper amazing vistas and views. It could, but probably not. Forza, that will, right? That's going to take advantage. That is going to be the best looking thing probably, because it is Microsoft. It is hand built for the Xbox, and thereby it's going to be hand built for the Scorpio. Cars have always looked really pretty, and that's not a genre that really is amassing a whole lot of new followers. So if you're not a Forza fan, if you're not a racing fan, I don't know if that does much for you. Crackdown 3, probably going to be a big game. Hopefully going to be a good game. Again, it's not something that, it's pushing power, you know, right, as long as they continue to do some of the cloud stuff and some of the big destructibility stuff that we've heard about. But it's not a visual, it's not a looker. I mean, it's a very nice looking game in the same way that like Borderlands or Breath of the Wild are nice looking. I think Breath of the Wild is gorgeous, and I think that Persona 5 is phenomenally beautiful. But not because of 4K, not because of power, not because of these amazing GPUs. And so that's what Scorpio needs. So it doesn't seem like it's really coming from the exclusive lineup. I really hope that there is a hidden exclusive that will take full advantage of Scorpio. I think that could be the game changer here if they do have a really monumental exclusive, whether it's old IP or new IP, that looks like an awesome game to play only on Xbox and fully take advantage of Scorpio. If not, it gets a little dicier. I think then you need to secure really great relationships with third parties in order to ensure that the game is going to look gorgeous on Scorpio. I mean, if RDR2, if Battlefront 2, if games like this can look fantastic on Scorpio, that's a great selling point. But remember, they also have developed for PlayStation 4. They also developed for OG Xbox One. So unless Microsoft's like throwing money for them to make a really Scorpio-focused mode, or to really push the graphics to the max and then have things be downscaled, I mean, I guess it's not likely, but that could happen. Otherwise, how is it going to look that much better? How is it going to look that much different? And maybe it will. You know, maybe it's an easy tweak for these devs to come in and say, you know what, we're going to push this to the max, and then it downscales a little for PS4 Pro and downscales even more for Xbox One and PS4 regular. But you already have like Destiny 2 has a big partnership with Sony, right? That's going to be probably the biggest seller of the year. You know, Call of Duty is probably with Sony as well again. And Sony has a great lineup right now, you know, with Horizon Zero Dawn already released, with Persona 5 already released, two of the best games of the generation, back-to-back on PlayStation. They've got some smaller stuff coming up, and they have some great titles in the pipeline that, whether they release late 2017 or early 2018, are big enough titles to move people towards the PlayStation side of things. So Microsoft's in this tough position where I feel like they really are delivering a fantastic console. I think the Scorpio is going to be amazing from the standpoint of power and visuals and load times and what it does. So they're probably banking on the fact that all of that extra oomph will attract people in the same way that beefy PCs attract players. For me and for a lot of console gamers, I don't know that that does a lot. And like I said, I don't shift over to PC just because it looks better. So they're really going to have to ensure that the load times, the interface, all of that stuff provides a better overall experience. Because experience is more than just how many pixels you can push. Experience is more than how much power you have in your box. And so far, Sony has won that. Microsoft could come back and they could fire off a new UI, a speedy, snappy interface with speedy, snappy load times, with the best console visuals ever seen by man, and that would be pretty awesome. But I think it has to come from the games, and it has to come from games that are built with Scorpio in mind. If they're not going to be exclusive to Scorpio, which that's not a thing, then fine, but you have to build them with Scorpio in mind. You have to build them as the target being Scorpio, and then, you know, the other stuff. That's not going to really come from third parties unless a whole bunch of money is thrown, I'm assuming. So it has to come from exclusives. So we need them to bring out the big guns. We need them to have franchises like Horizon Zero Dawn, like The Last of Us, like Uncharted, like Bloodborne. These things that they can say, hey, we have incredible games that not only are super fun to play, but they are going to look better, leaps better than anything else out there. That would be a winning plan, a winning formula. Without it, you're just a high-end console that is only going to appeal to the most high-end PC-style players who want to, you know, dip their toes in the console market, or people who are newly entering the generation. But even those, it's going to be a hard sell. By fall, PlayStation 4 with deals and stuff is going to be in the $200 to $250 range. You know, you maybe get a free game at $250, maybe it's $220. $500 is going to be double. So, yes, it is a technical master course in console design. Digital Foundry is very clear that it is incredible what they've achieved. But what is that system without awesome games, without awesome incentives? So either one, we better have some exclusives hidden that are going to reveal themselves at E3. Two, better be able to convince third parties to really make stuff shine on Scorpio. Or three, better bring the price down. Digital Foundry pretty confident that it's going to be more than PS4 Pro, and they're predicting a $499 price tag. That's a lot of money. And if you do not have the lineup to back it up, if you do not have the third-party relationships to back it up, you don't have the player base right now, you don't have the mind share or the gamers' hearts, it's got to be games. I think it's got to be games. I mean, look, you come out showing RDR2 looking hot at E3, that's a big win. Okay, you show Battlefront 2, it's a big win. Maybe they get something else. But they're going to have to look notably better to convince people to buy it there instead of PlayStation. Because people already have PS4 Pro, people already have PS4. It's a tough road for Microsoft. And I'm trying to take like the glass half full positive approach, putting on the hat of positivity to think about how they can make this work. But I think we really need to wait till E3 to see. And it's either going to be a double thumbs up affair for them or a damning affair. If they come out with Sea of Thieves, Crackdown, State of Decay, and Forza as their focus for Scorpio, I mean, I will buy one because of what I do, and I want to cover it, and I want to, you know, share it with you, and I'm just obsessed with consoles and gaming in general. But for most people, do you really need the extra pixels? If there's not the games to back it up, and if it doesn't look that much different, I guess that's what we have to wait and see. What is the discrepancy for third-party software between PS4 Pro and Xbox Scorpio? Digital Foundry says that from a spec standpoint, it is a large gap. But what does that mean when it comes to games that are on both platforms? And this is where I think you run into a real danger by doing these iterative half generations instead of full generations. What is the incentive if it's just going to be an also ran / option? What is the incentive to really develop hardcore for a new console? Well, the incentive is that's what they're moving towards, right? So eventually, you know, Nintendo phased out the Wii U, they've got the Switch. Sony phased out the PS3, they got the PS4. Microsoft phased out the 360, they got the Xbox One. But Microsoft is now supporting Xbox One S, and Xbox Scorpio. Sony is now supporting PS4 and PS4 Pro. There is no separation, and therefore there is no necessity. And without necessity, I don't know that you ever reach the potential that you can have when that sort of need is present. So I've never been one for these iterative consoles. I've always been one for new generations, even if it happens to be 4 or 5 years. I know it sucks because you have to dip in your wallet, but it's the most exciting for gaming. And I think that, frankly, if this is where we're going for the future, and this is sort of the end of console generations, and we just see these iterative steps, I will be bummed. And it could be a product of the fact that we're reaching kind of the tail end of the slope, that things are looking so good and games are so big and so awesome that those jumps, those leaps are just not possible in such a grand fashion anymore. You know, PS2 to PS3, big jump, even 3 to 4, a big jump. Maybe it's just not possible. Although it does sound like Sony is still revving up the engines for a PlayStation 5. And I'm sure at some point Microsoft will have to counter. And maybe this is all just a ruse, a stopgap, a way to, you know, squeeze as much as you can out of this generation for both Sony and Microsoft. Put out the Pro, put out the Scorpio, take advantage of 4K, seem like you're at the forefront, allow for some VR, really try and just basically, you know, amass as much of a market share as you possibly can, have the most powerful console by Scorpio. Even if it doesn't do a whole lot, maybe it does a lot mentally, maybe it elevates Microsoft subconsciously. But I wonder what the real end game is. You know, when you're talking with Phil Spencer and you're talking with the heads over at Sony, what is the end game of these half steps? And that would be really fun to find out. We won't, but hopefully we'll find out a lot more at E3. I really am crossing my fingers for some aces up Spencer's sleeves, and it would be great to see a new IP in the vein of Horizon. It doesn't have to be like Horizon, but just sort of how that was a brand new IP that really ended up being a star, absolute amazing, well-reviewed, well-received, well-sold title for Sony that looks gorgeous. So do that, Microsoft, and now Scorpio has a much bigger, it's a much bigger conversation to have if you want a Scorpio. It's still weird that you can just buy that on your Xbox One, but maybe they're going to do so much amazing visual whiz-bang that it's just going to look so good you have to get it. We'll see. And I'm curious what third-party support looks like and if there's any difference between Pro and Scorpio. What do you guys think? Are you excited for this? Do you think it's going to be a big deal? Do you think Microsoft has stuff up their sleeve? Is it going to flop? Is it still going to be fun just because it's the best-looking console ever? Are you pumped because you don't have to build a huge PC and you can still have ultra-quality graphics? Do you just want to dive desperately into 4K gaming, or do you not care one bit? Let me know in the comments below. We're going to follow this and talk about this more because it's sort of the biggest thing going on right now, and I'm very interested. I'm very interested in Microsoft's whole game plan for this year and the first half of 2018. I think their next 12 months are really going to be interesting, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think Sony's lineup right now is looking so much more solid, and already has been this year, so I really am hoping Microsoft will step things up. And the console, from a box power innard standpoint, steps it up major. Now let's bring the games right with it, okay? Until that time, though, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Hope you had a fantastic day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Drink so much. Until next time, I love you. We'll see you all later.